figured out, why not give myself a break? And I'm going to do this one today from here, from actually my living room. And I'm surrounded by, a minute ago he was here, Scout, and the cats are sitting over there. And Uli Hofmann is watching from Germany. Hi! And Cindy, oh my God, that's great. So people are coming in, this is fun. So today what I want to talk about is, hi Mila, something that happened to me quite a while ago. In '98, I decided to leave my work as an advertising executive to go and become a therapeutic horseback riding instructor. And in order to go through the training, the horseback rider training, I was like, hi, I'm back. All of a sudden, Facebook just shut down. I don't know why. But so I was just talking about Nicole Birkholzer here, Mindful Connections, and I was talking about how in '98, I decided to leave my advertising job and become a therapeutic riding instructor. And because my riding skills back then were kind of antiquated, I took some riding lessons in New York City before I started to leave for California to get my training. Hi, Johnny. Hi. And so what I decided to do is go out, take my riding lesson at the Chelsea Pier and ask my riding instructor, who's actually, if you believe it or not, some of you might know him or know of him, was Tim Hayes. And Tim Hayes back then gave riding lessons at the Chelsea Pier in New York City. And you might have seen him touring with his workshops, natural horsemanship workshops, and his book, Riding Home. So Tim gave me the name of a friend in Malibu, and he said, go out there, and you know, he's a good cowboy, he's a good man, you can hang out with him maybe and learn something about horses. And so I went out there by myself. I rented a car, and in my prissy little rental car, I drove into the Malibu Mountains. Hi, Nancy! And into the Malibu Canyons. And I called the guy, you know, ahead of time. His name is Wyatt. And I said, can I come by and visit with you? And he's like, sure, just make sure when you come through the big gate, you close it behind you so the horses don't run out. And I was like, what? The horses run out? What do you mean? Like, they're all loose on the property? Sure are. I'm like, oh, okay. So I drove in, made sure that the gate was all locked, and driving down the driveway, these beautiful orange blossom trees, and there were horses here and there grazing. And I get to the center of the property, and there's this guy stuck upside down in a 75 pickup truck. And I got out of my little car, and he just ended up sticking his head up with his cowboy hat, and he's like, hey, welcome. And I was like, hi, so I'm here to learn something. And he was great, yeah, let's get some horses. And he went, whistled about, I would say he must have had 25, 30 horses on that property, running loose on 40 acres. And he's like, well, I'll take the chestnut, you take that Tobiano over there. And I'm like, okay. And so we saddled up and we got on the horse and we started riding. And what was really strange for me, I mean, I had gone on trail rides, of course, and I had lessons, and I have ridden with other horses, but I had never ridden among loose horses. And so as we went up and down, and I don't know if you know that countryside in California, but it's kind of really nice hills up and down and kind of an open view. We would all of a sudden hear these thundering hoofs coming from around the corner, and I was like, oh my God, and I'm holding on to, you know, legs and horn and everything, because I'm like, oh my God, this horse is gonna take off with me with this herd that's coming around the corner. But he didn't, because Wyatt had trained him already. Hey, Sharon, hi, Marta. So Wyatt had already trained these horses fairly well. And so this horse stayed right under me and there was no problem. But we were now riding across the property with this big herd of horses around it, which was really kind of cool. And that went on for an hour. And then that went on for 2 hours. And then I think I must have arrived there by 11. And now it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we were still riding up and down the same hills, up and down. And while I was always riding forward, Wyatt was usually riding backwards. And I don't mean he was sitting on the horse backwards, but he would go the hill up backwards or sideways, or down the hill backwards or sideways. And I had no clue what he was doing. And quite frankly, after a while, I was all bored because he wasn't really talking to me. And so, hi, Erica, Matthew. So I actually was kind of eventually, I was getting antsy. I mean, we're on horseback now for 5 hours and I'm riding around. I'm like, I saw the place 3 times over. What the heck are we doing here? And I finally said something. And I said, so for how long are we going to ride today, Wyatt? And he goes, until my horse has learned something new and I know he understood it well. And I was like, oh my God. And then I realized that he had taught me without saying anything that he is actually, hi Sarah, that he actually was pointing out to me that I had been riding for 4 or 5 hours next to him doing basically nothing but staying on the horse while he the entire time worked with his horse in the most thank you, Katie. In the most amazing way. And his horse was so supple and his horse was so connected and he and this horse were so one. And like I said, going up and down the hills in such a beautiful harmonic way while I was like ding, 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 doing like a trail ride thing around them and behind them and in front of them. And I was so embarrassed that day. And I said to him, I said, you know what, I just got it. I didn't even ride. I just went along for a ride. And I asked him, would he still accept me coming a little here or there to kind of learn more from him? And he was like, sure. And so I ended up having a little bit of a few weeks of working with this guy. And he was good friends with Brenneman, and we went to one of his clinics. And I learned a lot. Hi, Denise. But the lesson, of course, was like, holy shit, I need to be more present while I'm on horseback. So now, fast forward, I'm, a therapeutic riding instructor, and I have my own horses now, and I would always pay close attention to being kind of present with the horse. But that only happened when I was kind of alone or with a friend that was also a quieter person. But once we were out with a few people, it would be like blah, 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 blah. Or if I was out with somebody who was not as good of a rider maybe, and I would direct them, I realized, my God, I would be more present with everybody but my horse. But I developed this little technique of learning, and I want to give this to you guys today for when you ride your horse, where I would somehow split myself into 2 parts. And one was like I would be very connected in my body and would feel my horse through my body. And if I had to pay attention to somebody else, I would try to use my upper body, my mind, to be with them, but to really almost split myself in half and be partially with the person, but grounded with the horse. And that worked well. Now, here's the interesting part for me. I understood that concept and I got it that of course we should be more present with our horses. But recently I had 2 cool conversations with horses. Twice a horse owner had called for an animal communication session, and in both cases they had some challenges on the trail. And in one case the woman said her horse was not very responsive when she was out with a group of horses. And when I tuned into the horse shared that he was, he basically said to me, well, what am I responding to? There's like kind of nobody there. And I was like, what do you mean there's nobody there? There's a person on your back and there's people around you and other horses. What do you mean by that? And the horse basically explained, hey, Donna, good to see you. The horse explained to me that he felt kind of like, yeah, they were there, but they were not with him. And since he wasn't really being given much direction, he just figured he could just do what he wanted to do. And so he would either veer off or sometimes even stop and be like, oh, I think we'll go back. And, start turning around. And so I explained to the owner, I said, you know what, this horse really needs you to be present with him, because when you go out and you get engaged with other people, and obviously I knew exactly what this was all about because I had been there as a person doing that. I said, you have to kind of remember that you have another being under you that really wants your attention. And horses often are so excited when we actually finally show up at the barn, because, you know, sometimes when we board them, you know, we are only there for a few hours a day, if we're even there every day. And even in my own backyard, my horses are always so like, yay, please come out and hang with us. And I'm like, okay. So when we're with them, they love for us to be really present. So this horse was like, you know, my rider needs to be a little bit more with me so that I don't feel like I should be making up my own path or where and how I want to go. Now, hey, Chris and Cindy. And now the second horse was interesting too. He was a horse that would, the owner would take him out by himself. And the owner would be a little nervous at times. And thank you, by the way, for sending little hearts. Because I know then Facebook goes out and tries to find us a bigger audience, which is really sweet. So thanks for the love. So this horse, the second horse, described that he could immediately feel when the person, and he exited the property to go out on the trails, that the person was relaxed but not present. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And the woman then told me, and she's like, oh my God, I know exactly what he means. Because for me, when I come to the barn and I hang out with my boy and we go out on a trail ride, for me, that's the moment when I can just let my brain go and I think of all the things, and it's almost like my whole world comes rushing in and I'm just, hey, Donna, Emily, love seeing you. So the horse was like, you know what, or the woman said, I feel like my world is crashing down in on me and I just almost like let go. And by the time she comes back, she's present because she kind of let go of all the rest of her life. While her horse, however, said, yeah, when we're outside together, he almost rather have her groom him or hang out with him at the barn. But he said, when we're out on the trails together, I don't even feel we're together because she's just sitting there, so to speak. And I was like, wow. And the woman loved it because she was like, this is so true and so exciting. And she's like, and I always want to be more present with my horse. And sometimes I don't know how to be more present on the trails because what is there to do? And I'm like, oh yeah. And I had that experience 20 years ago when I rode for 5 hours and thought there was nothing to do. So now, of course, with that experience, I can could help her and gave her some ideas of what to do with her horse and how to actually focus. And so here are a couple of tips for you. When you now go out on the trails, or even in the arena, it doesn't really matter, but it's more important, I think, out on the trails because also there's more stuff that can happen to our horses that we need to be present for, like, you know, something unexpected coming out of the woods. So when you ride down, you get off your property or you get, you know, yours tacked up after you get him off the trailer. And if you listened last Sunday, then you know what to do, how to check if he's ready for you. If not, look at the video that I did last Sunday. But now you get on horseback and you start riding out. Start with a real focused intention. Literally like, okay, up to the pine tree, I'm going to go at a nice quiet walk. And then you get to the pine tree and you take another deep breath. Take one actually when you get on the horse. But then you start looking and you're like, oh, that stone wall, for the whole length of the stone wall, I'm going to do an extended walk. And now start practicing feeling your horse through your body with your legs, your seat, your whole grounded lower body. Make sure your feet are in the stirrups and you have really a connection. Easy on the hands. And then build an extended trot along the wall until the end of the wall. And then pick your next thing. Maybe, you know, make a circle around a garbage can or, you know, ride up the hill in a nice trot and, you know, halfway, hey Carol, halfway up the hill, you know, you do a sitting trot for 5 steps or whatnot. Start putting some ideas and some fun little segments into your ride. And then even say, okay, and now from here till we get to the pond or from here till we get to the next house or whatnot, we're gonna relax. And you will see your horse, because now you intentionally relax your horse and you're gonna go, and your horse will be stretching, long neck down the head, and that will be such a beautiful relief. And your horse will be at this point glad that your attention is off, because you will have actually engaged him or her in such a way that you were so present that they are usually like, okay, thanks for a little break. And then, 5 minutes later, you pick up again and you do something again, and do it also on the way home, so that it doesn't become the rush home, but it becomes this little like ritual that whenever you go out and whenever you come back from your ride, that you have this connection with him or her, by you being just really, really present and engaged with your horse. Now, I don't horseback ride so much these days anymore, but I want to just share one thing about even when you lead your horse, because I see that a lot when I'm at, therapeutic riding centers, or when I go to a barn to do a workshop. I see a lot of people bringing their horses in, and it's kind of like, and then they walk, and the horse kind of drags behind type of thing. Lead consciously. And try it. And the way the leading consciously is, the way I do it, is the opposite. I actually have now my connection is my upper body and my hand through the lead line, where I feel the horse, and I again keep my legs and my feet grounded to the earth, because just in case the horse ever spooks or pulls me off, I at least stay centered. But my connection to the horse comes through my arm, and it's a really light, gentle hold of the lead line. And you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, this sense where you all of a sudden you already feel your horse starting to go faster, even though he might be behind you and you can't even see him, but it's a sensation. That's what I want to be tuned into when I lead my horse. So when I take them for walks through the woods, I always have my upper body connected to them and my feet connected to the ground. And with that, I also can start some cool conversations. Like Kata is always one, or Palomino, who's always like, oh, what's over there? Over there, because he has the surveyor personality. And I will stop with him, and I'm like, ooh, what is it over there? Ah, a bluebird. Okay, let's keep going. And then he's like, oh, okay, glad you saw that too. So you can create like a real cool connection with them and be super present for the 10-minute, 15-minute walk by just applying some of your skills that you kind of use on horseback, now also on the ground. So those are the kind of things that I find really helpful, and I know horses love. So in both cases with these people, they came back to me later and were like, oh my God, what a difference it is with my horse all of a sudden, where I'm there, he's always there. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of my sentence that I always say this. Our horses are always waiting for us to show up. We just need to show up. And when we do, it's like, it's a match, because they live in the now, and we are usually in the past or in the future. And like this woman was talking about, like her entire day in her life and what she had, it's like, leave that in the car before you get to the barn, or leave it in the house. Go take a deep breath and hang with your best friend and be present for however long you are together. If it's 5 minutes, it's great. If it's 5 hours, try that one. All right, so this is exciting. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys will apply some of it, and then let me know, because the fun part is always to hear about it, how it goes, and if it, if you explored anything else, or maybe somebody has some ideas right now on maybe a couple of other ways to stay more present. I know breath is one way to always, you can always remind yourself to be more present through breath. Like I said, picking obstacles, setting little intentions of what to do where and when, and always remembering it's a live being underneath us. And not only do we need to be present to stay safe, but we need to be present because they deserve it, right? I mean, they're hanging with us as much as we want, and so we should give them the joy of being really with them and meeting them in the now, and creating some mindful connections. All right, everybody, thank you. Oh, so next week, actually next Sunday, I'm going to be I think I'm going to be talking from the road because we're going to Warwick, New York, to a therapeutic riding center there, Winslow. If you want to join us for the talk on Saturday night or the workshop on Sunday, contact Winslow Therapeutic Riding Center. You can find them easily online, and I'm going to put their little link here. And yeah, we'll talk about horses again. We'll see there's probably something cool that happened during the workshop that I can share. And therapeutic, thank you, Johnny. And therapeutic riding horses always have like lots to talk about because their life is quite colorful, usually. All right, so anything else, Davey?
Signing up for the chakra workshop.
Oh yeah, and then if you love the chakra workshop, the video from last week, I am at Tech in Holyoke on April 8th, I believe. So come on down for that. That's always a super, super fun time. Cool, all right. There's little Scooty. He's telling me it's time to have dinner. I will see you all next week. Thanks so much for coming. Love you.